Alright, I am in the background. I'm just setting some stuff up. Won't be too long. I am also trying to load up something in the background, so hopefully that's not pulling resources too much. So for some reason, if I have my speaker on and have the audio playing through that, I can hear the chimes and stuff for my live stream when the chats come in. But when I'm using my earbuds, which I do to try to separate the sound on my microphone from the sound on the monitor and stuff like that on my device, it does not send out that chime. I have some ideas of what might help it, but I'm not going to try those right now. I'll try them some other time. Anyway, let me continue on with what I was doing. And I am a little stuffy, not really stuffy, but I have a bit of a runny nose still from my whatever I got at the end of my trip, and my chest is still a little congested. Hopefully that will clear up soon so I don't end up with a lung infection, but right now it's still terrorizing me like a motherfucker. Anyway, let's get back to what I was doing. What was I doing? Like, I can't even think right now. Don't mind me. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. And that was my earbuds. Hopefully they did not disconnect or something. I hate it when they do that. Alright, what was I doing? I can't remember. Oh my goodness. I know I type loud. Sorry about that. I don't have a thing to, like, noise cancel that stuff. I am not a good typer either. I definitely hunt and peck. And I am slow at typing. I'm also slow at thinking sometimes, like right now. And I also know that with the music in the background, it's probably a little harder to hear me. I'm sorry about that. I don't have a way to adjust it much more. Like, I can't put my volume up higher, not as far as I can tell. And I suppose I could try to put the music volume down lower, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's already low enough. All right, let's get this going. Okay, that's in. It's so weird seeing the chat come in without hearing the little ding, but whatever. I'll just have to try to pay more attention. Leave this, check my download. My download looks like it is ready. Or not my download, I think it's technically an upload. Let's go ahead and send that off. So that is done while we're doing this. I'm not going to send a Facebook message today. So sometimes when let's go to my live scene. Hello Hello, everyone. This is Venus Brown. I am here with another breakdown and discussion of House of the Dragon. This is Season 3, Episode 6. We are definitely coming along, rolling along. After this episode, I should be caught up. So instead of waiting a week or more for my breakdowns because I was on vacation, now it should be after a couple days or so, hopefully. 2 to 3 days, no more than that. Anyway, what was I saying? Before my startup screen finished, oh, I forgot what I was talking about. Darn it. I can't remember. Oh well. Anyway, this episode I really, really enjoyed. I gave it an A-. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. Really liked the episode. I know some people complained about it. There was definitely things that pissed me off a little bit. But overall, I really liked the episode, and there was shit that went on in the episode that I was not expecting. So I think that also added to how much I liked it, even though I did not like all the things that I was not expecting. But that happens. It is the way it is. Anyway, so I was trying to think of some of the themes in the episode because I didn't think of any of them until like a little bit ago. So what I've got so far is that we are moving the story along. I know I've heard some creators say that they don't feel that the story has moved along this episode, but I do. I don't think it's moving along maybe the way some of us book readers have expected, but I think the things that happened in this episode are definitely going to move the story along that the showrunners are giving us. So I'm going to go along with that. That's fine with me. Also, they're positioning some pieces, like it feels like certain things have been put in place to get ready for something big, whether it be book stories or news stories or whatever. I definitely feel like things that happened last episode are setting us up for what's coming big time. And that's definitely overlapping with the moving the story along thing. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah. It felt like a lot of the episode was trying to deal with stuff, and some of that stuff eventually got dealt with. Some of it, not so much. Damon's things with the gold cloaks, like he was trying to deal with it, but I don't think we got anywhere. By the time the episode was done, it really looks like we're in a worse position than what we started. But then there was the whole thing with Helena the whole time, and I do feel like we finally got something. It may not be what we want, but we got something being done about the Helena situation. So those are the themes that I've come up with so far. So outside of that, like, I don't know. I'm not, like, my brain is not working. It is not fully functioning right now. So things are not clicking so well right now. So forgive me for that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to, is there anything else? I'm going to do the rest in peace at the very end. And I think last episode I was going to do the preview for the next episode, and I did not. Sorry about that. But I already did this. We're already on this episode, so there's no reason to worry about that preview. But hopefully I will remember the preview for next episode. I do like watching the previews. I feel like it gives me a little bit of information to prepare for the next episode, but usually not too many spoilers. I think sometimes when the showrunners do a trailer like in the middle of the season, sometimes they'll give you like something really big, and sometimes right before the penultimate or finale they'll give you something really big so that it ends up being too spoilery. But I don't feel like they're gonna do that this time, so let's hope. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the breakdown. See, like I can't even think of the word breakdown. Let's go ahead. We'll get started with the breakdown. Like I've said before, these are pre-recorded, and I recorded this one early in the morning, and the lighting, like I thought I could get it done early enough that the lighting wasn't going to be a problem, but I was wrong. The lighting was definitely going up as, like the sun was definitely going up as I was doing it, and it was really messing with my lighting. So you'll see shifts in my lighting over and over again. I tried to adjust it the best I could when I was editing, but it's sometimes it's fine, sometimes it is very bleached out. So anyway, and funky looking, because I'm trying to get rid of the bleached out look, and that doesn't always work. All right, let me go ahead and get this started. This is Venus Brown with a breakdown of House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 6. Hello, this is Venus Brown with a breakdown of House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 6.
I'm going to mute my mic. You can leave messages in the chat, though.
A camp that looks really strange, not abandoned, but like everybody there is dead. There's rotting animals, there's dead people. It looks like some fucking massive battle has taken place there. But they walk through and they're not seeing any signs of any enemies. It's all rivermen. And then, boom! This was not real. There probably were real dead people there and dead animals. But this was the rivermen ambushing these fuckers with a fake out. It was very cool, very exciting. And then after Cole and Gwain's troops feel like they've taken all these guys out, the Northmen appear, and a bunch of other men appear from all sides. Cole knows he's fucked. He knows his troops are done. And Cole begins to try to negotiate to save his troops, which is priceless because he's been trying to send his troops to their death the whole time. Offers to fight 2-on-1, him against two of the others, but then somebody just fucking takes him out with arrows. And he has this, like, just... For me, it was a bit disappointing because I was expecting a fight. And I understand Joe wanted to go with something where Cole was not getting that glorious, honorable death that he was looking for. I feel like we could have still done that with an actual fight. He could have had a completely inglorious, uneventful, unhonorable death. That would have been completely fine. But instead, he just starts getting shot with arrows. There's barely any emotion to it. After giving it a second thought, this ensures he does not get what he was looking for. And so many of us were so sick and tired of Cole even being on screen, so we were ready for him to go. I'm glad he is gone. But that was a bit of a disappointing death, especially after seeing everything that was going on with that battle. I was so excited when I saw that those guys were alive and just started attacking. That was great stuff. Cole's death itself was boring. The guards found Alicent and Helena behind those walls, so now they are caught. Rhaenyra has to deal with them. She cannot let Helena be seen outside the walls, or people will be demanding that a certain threat is fucking remedied, which means Rhaenyra will have to take actions she does not want to take. Alicent pleads with her to try to get her to let them run away, but she's not having that either. And eventually, Alicent will come up with something else that will help loosen Rhaenyra up so that she can at least attempt some other way. They start out clamping down on Alicent and Helena, saying that she's going to double the guards, tighten their constriction. They're not allowed to go out to the Godswood anymore, which is really not good for Helena, and it does cause a downward spiral for Helena. She stops eating. We have this council meeting, and there is a lot going on in the council meeting, but by the time it was all said and done, I was like, is this actually one of the most productive council meetings I've seen from Rhaenyra's court, like the entire time? Because that's how it seemed to me. Like, they got more things done came up with more remedies to take care of things than any council meeting that I recall since she's been crowned queen. So, good for them. Even though things still fucked up, that one council meeting at least seemed to go like a council meeting should go. They're going to send 70 Valerian men off from Driftmark to start rooting out traitors from the houses in Westeros. And then Lord Baratheon's men show up. But not with Lord Baratheon. They go on to tell her that he's dealing with some stuff with these people in the Stepstones. And she's like, he should be worrying about what I freaking commanded him, not these little fucking side problems that he has to deal with. They apologize, say that there was no harm intended. Then she proceeds to, I think, come up with a plan that we'll see come to fruition later. She asks one of the guys for their belts, and we'll see some of what happens later on in the episode. We have the 2 seeds are exchanging their guardian positions. One is getting off duty, the other's coming on duty. And Ulf is like, we've been put in this position, but it doesn't feel like we're in any better of a position than we were before. Things are very different. Like, we used to have all this stuff going on that was kind of nice, this kind of normalcy. And Hugh says he's sure that eventually it will get back to normal. And he's like, but we're not the same. We're completely different. It doesn't feel like things are better for us. Instead, we're back and forth on this lonely hill at the Queen's beck and call and don't have our own lives. And then Ulf leaves and says, I'll see you in 2 days. And I'm like, yeah, a lot can happen in 2 days, and a lot does happen. Daemon's trying to deal with the aftermath of all these gold cloaks being killed, and some of the ones that are left over come to him, at least 2 of them with their cloaks already off. He's trying to convince them to stay, but he ends his motivating speech with very unmotivating, shaming these guys, which is not a motivator in this kind of situation. I think all of them did end up taking their cloaks off and just mass exodusing out of there, which leaves the entire fucking kingdom with no guards, with no city watch, no gold cloaks to fucking take care of the shit going on in the city, and stuff is already getting bad in the city. So I imagine it will get a lot worse. And we are going to see some of the people from the city starting to complain to Rhaenyra about what needs to be done. Corlys and Alan exchange words. Alan is trying to explain to Corlys about how bad things are getting in the city and that Rhaenyra really needs him there, needs his troops there, and he's getting all upset that, oh, she's demanding more of me. She just demands more and more and more. And I'm like, dude, you've been off doing your own thing and she let you just do that. You are one of the Queen's men. You are supposed to be at her beck and call, like Ulf was talking about earlier. You are the hand, and you've been neglecting your duty. So getting all upset that she's asking you to come back to do your freaking job, something that needs to be fucking done. That's great that you took care of this problem outside of King's Landing, but there are bigger problems going on inside King's Landing that you need to tend to. And Alan rightfully points out that he's getting all upset about having to do this shit for Rhaenyra. And Corlys brings up that Rhaenyra wouldn't legitimize him. And he's like, yeah, you gotta wait a little while. And I waited how many fucking years for you to even acknowledge me? So yeah, that was a good discussion. I was glad that Alan got that out, and he definitely did get through to Corlys. And then as Alan is getting ready to leave, Corlys turns around and says, oh, by the way, I've been hearing some things from the people that we've been killing. Apparently, Tylan is alive and he's headed to Rook's Rest. Now, the last time we saw Tylan, I was pretty sure he was in Rook's Rest, but he may be talking about information he got before that happened. I was just a little taken aback that he waited until Alan was getting ready to leave before he even mentioned it. Larys and Aegon and Tylan are all trying to figure out what the fuck they're gonna do next. Tylan is burying a guy that Aegon killed. He's getting too hot and too fucking tired and just digs this very, very shallow grave and is like, I have to stop. This is it. We need to fucking bury this guy and get it over with. And Larys is like, this grave is way too shallow. We need to fucking dig more. And Tylan's like, you're welcome to dig more if you want, but I'm done. But either way, they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do next. And then Aegon starts questioning Tylan. Am I an awful man? And Tylan just like stutters and stammers trying to get out what he's trying to say without completely offending Aegon. And he ends up saying something that's actually pretty true. Like, we all have some good in them and some awful in them. But I think because of the way that Tylan answered, that made it clear to Aegon that, yeah, these other people do see me as a monster, as a terrible person. And so he says, okay, then I guess we're off to Essos. I think maybe this is his idea. He's going to fucking get away from there. Hopefully work on himself, try to change himself a little bit. Maybe try to be less of a fucking awful person. We'll see. Rhaena sees her sister's dragon and Alan's dragon flying around, and apparently she goes after them. She doesn't get near them in time for them to see her or anything, or for her to actually see them, but it is a problem that's going to come up later when Jane Eyre confronts her. Has her tied up, brought to her, and right before Rhaena gets there, she's just sent somebody through the moon door and says that the moon door never ceases to be fascinating, which I was like, oh my gosh. I kind of wish that we could see who it was that went through there, but I don't know that it really matters. I think if it did matter, they probably would have made something of it, but they didn't. Alice Rivers is with Aemon. He is much better. He is trying to leave. She is trying to convince him to stay with her, to allow himself to heal, to give himself time to rebuild his strength, and eventually to join up. Alan's back in King's Landing. He sees Baela sleeping, not on a bed, tells her, you know, a bed would be much more comfortable. And then they have this whole discussion. He tries to convince her to talk to Corlys for him. But she's like, I can't really do anything for you there. Like, these guys are the way they are. My dad has made me feel much the same as you feel. I have been of no help in that respect, and I don't think I'm going to be able to help. But then also, they add this extra layer of romanticism. Something's going on here. There's some kind of connection. I know I've heard people say that it just seemed very sudden, but I know I've seen at least one or two scenes with them where it seemed like they were getting a little closer than maybe a uncle and niece or whatever relation they are should be getting. And this time they definitely got much closer. I'm pretty sure in the books that these two end up together. I was telling my husband, I do not remember how the Valyrians are with this stuff. We know the Targaryens engage in incestual behavior as a regular normal thing, but I don't know if the Valyrians do. I'm assuming that they do, but I don't know for sure. Because both those families did come from Valyria, and Valyria has some very different culture and standards, so I imagine that they probably have those same norms when it comes to family members engaging with each other, marrying each other, etc. Gwaine gets to Ormond and he tells Ormond about how awful everything was with Cole and that he had to leave because this guy's just fucking marching everybody to their death. And Ormond's like, why are you such a coward? You couldn't handle the heat. You just had to run home. Really, is Ormond any fucking better? He's fucking sitting in somebody else's city, just holding all their people captive, knowing that Rhaenyra's not likely to rain dragon fire on them because he is cowardly hiding behind another people's city instead of actually taking the battle to who it is supposed to be against. And then Ormond actually asks Darren something about whether he's crazy or insane, and Darren's like, oh no, like you're totally sane, because he's trying to fucking keep himself from backlash that would most likely come from Ormond if he actually was honest with him. And then later on, Gwaine and Darren talk. Apparently Gwaine has been like Darren's protector. And Gwaine just fucking up and left. And Darren's like, you left me alone with him. You know how he is. I know how he is. Like, I've been dealing with this the best I can. Please don't fucking leave me alone with him again. And Gwaine continuously throughout the episode talks about how he's going to fucking leave. And how Darren's gonna be all right. And I'm like, no, just because Darren's become his new prize or his new trophy to act like he's gonna be the new king doesn't mean this kid's gonna be all right. Most likely it'll mean Ormond's gonna get more obsessive and get more stupid and subject this kid to more crazy shit. Aemon is at the stables. I think he's getting ready to fucking take off. And the stable boy sees him. He recognizes Aemon. He turns around and then Alice stabs him. And she proceeds to try to tell Aemon how she's protected him, how she has kept his secret, and she will continue to keep his secret. And then he asks her what kind of games she is playing. So she talks to him. She tries to convince him that he should stay by showing him these eggs that were left by Dreamfire when Rhaena, not the Rhaena in this show, but the previous Rhaena, after her child died and her dragon had hatched these eggs. She plants these ideas in Aemon's head of them getting together, these loners, these people that nobody has taken seriously, that have been alone all their lives, that they could be together, that they could rule. She could be the Lady of the Water and he could be the Lord of the Dragons. And that in the meantime, he is a prince, and that any of his future sons will also be princes. So I really think that this may have been her plan all along. As soon as she got word from Daemon that she didn't have much of a chance at all of gaining Harrenhal when she had no title, she started trying to figure out what she could do to get a title. Well, if she is with Aemon, she has a child with Aemon. If she ends up married to Aemon, then she doesn't have to worry about that title anymore. And the natural progression of things, I think, would be for her and Aemon to lord over Harrenhal. Rhaenyra's on the throne dealing with the people's questions and requests, not giving the greatest answers. One of the ladies from the Sept is like, one of our girls were taken, and she's like, oh, I'm going to light a candle for her, which I think really took the lady aback. It's interesting how these religious people always want everybody to hope and pray. But then when something fucked up happens and somebody else tells them they're going to light a candle for them or they're going to pray for them, then all of a sudden, oh my God, that's so awful. Fucking take a look in the mirror. This is the kind of shit you guys do all the time. Fucked up shit happens and you say you're going to pray for them. Those words are empty. Those words are every bit as empty as when Rhaenyra says she's going to light a candle for her. Empty words. Lighting a candle isn't going to bring this girl back, and it isn't going to deal with the problem. And then one of the guys comes out and he's expressing frustration that we've all seen these murders of the Gold Cloaks going on. It's terrifying. We're afraid. What are you going to do about it? And she goes on to yell about, this is because of Ormond. He's the one that did this to me. And he's like, yeah, I know, but that doesn't fucking solve the problem. What are you going to do about it? And she proceeds to tell them that she's sending a bunch of men from Valyria, and that sends them all into an uproar, asking how are they going to help us? And I'm like, I'm not sure what they're upset about exactly. Like, she definitely gave an answer as to how she plans on trying to deal with this. They won't have the Gold Cloaks there, but they will have a bunch of troops that have been fighting in the war trying to help out. Now, she did say that she's sending them to root out the terrorists, to me, that would still entail trying to get a handle on the fucked up shit going on in King's Landing. But as soon as she said it, they all like went into an uproar. First, you see that she's cut her finger on the throne, which is one of the things that they made a big deal about in the book, that the throne is going to reject her. Well, it's been this long, and the throne has just nicked her on the finger. Claiming that that is the throne rejecting her just seems a little stupid to me. It is a throne of swords, and she's been on it this long, and she's just now getting her first little nick, whatever. Anyway, she stares up at this statue. I'm not sure exactly what the statue represents, but I think it represents something important. And she gets up and then she walks out on them, which I think is a bad move to make. These people are all coming to you for help and you walk out on them. That doesn't set a good precedence. That does not create a good image. Damon's wandering through the city, which I think he's doing intentionally. Walking around there openly, he knows these people have been going after gold cloaks, and he's got his gold cloak on, representing his gold cloaks. And the guy that's been going after these people sees him, starts to follow him. Damon's very adept at this stuff, so he knows somebody's following him. He catches him, asks how many of them there are. He says that we are innumerable, that it doesn't matter what they do, how many people they kill, no matter how they react, what good things or bad things they do, they're never going to embrace her. Damon's like, that's all I need to hear, and he fucking kills him. Which he was going to kill him regardless. But yeah, I was like, yeah, we don't need to hear anything else from this guy. He's freaking useless. He's not going to give you any information. And he gave you all the information that you really need. But then as he's walking away, he runs into Ulf. And Ulf has this hood over his head. He's like covered up. And he's like, watch where the fuck you're going. He turns around. He realizes it's Damon. And then pulls his hood off and apologizes. And Damon's like, why are you here and not where you're supposed to be? And he's like, well, you know, us men, I've been on this hill all these many days, and us men need our simple pleasures. You of all people should understand that. And then Damon's like, no, I don't fucking think so. Decks him and then kicks him, stomps his foot down on him. None of the shit that's happening with this guy is going to make him loyal to anybody. I mean, he's not loyal anyway. But all this shit that you people are doing to him is just going to set him off. He's not going to want anything to do with you. And he has a dragon. He can just fucking hightail it and leave. Granted, he still might get killed, but he could. And you guys just keep fucking treating him like shit. Not a good idea. And then that statement that Ulf made when he left, when he said, I'll see you in 2 days. And I was like, yeah, a lot can happen in 2 days. Some of the major stuff with Ulf being hit and kicked. And then this. Hugh goes and fucking stops some guy carrying a load of food, knocks him out, takes his cart into Tumbleton, and then goes to find his wife. And it looks like, oh my God, they're finally back together. It seems so sweet and nice and everything at first, until she breaks down, tells him, doesn't give any details, but says a lot of fucked up shit has happened. That she had no choice because he was gone. She had to escape the chaos, go there to be with her family, and now her brother's dead also. And he proceeds to say, but I did it. I got the dragon. And she's like, you got the dragon? That's what this is about? You're here because you claimed glory on a dragon? I needed you here. I needed you with me. Do you have any idea the kind of fucked up shit that can go on when a woman has to fucking go from King's Landing to here on her own? Needless to say, this did not go well. It definitely did not go as Hugh expected. He tries to force her to leave with him. She is not having it. She's like, I am not going to forsake my family. She starts acting like she doesn't know who the fuck he is and screaming because this man's attacking her. They don't know who he is. they're just gonna see this man attacking this woman who's been staying there for a while and hasn't had any man with her, and her being like, who are you? And I don't know if she said that to try to cue people in to have them on alert that this guy is attacking, or if she is saying it as in, like, I literally don't know who you are. Like, you're so different now. You're doing these things that I never would expect from the person that I knew. I think this is going to be the precipitous for Hugh to turn. I've been looking for what is going to happen because none of the other stuff that has happened with her so far would make sense for Hugh to turn cloak to the other side. All the shit that's happened to her is because of the other side. Is that a reason to flip over to the other side? No, I don't think so, but he's not going to be thinking clearly either. And then in another part of Tumbleton, Ormond is going on with Darren about how you can't trust these up-jump people that like clawed their way to a higher position. And I'm like, oh, you mean they were born in a lower fucking position than you? So they worked their way up to become something better, and you think that means they can't be trusted because they weren't born in the same fucking position that you were? Like, this guy is just so fucking full of crap. Such an awful person. But then he gets this procession of guys that come in. We are told that these are Baratheons. They've come to swear fealty to this guy. And I'm like, something's up. Something's a little off. And especially once they started saying that they needed to see the king, I was like, no. That sent alarm bells off in my head right away. As soon as they said they need to see the king, I'm like, you should be very careful. Like, he's asking to see the king. You don't know if you can trust these people. Why are you just openly telling who the king is? Then you see Gawain eyeing them up. You see his eyes like darting from one person to the other, and you see him like measuring them up. And then he goes into action and starts taking them out, and Ormond's like, no, stop him! What are you doing? And Gawain is like, these are fucking imposters. They're assassins. They've been sent to kill you. This is not the Baratheons. He has a different hair color, he has a slightly different height, and he is much more comely looking than this ugly ass guy who he had just slit his throat. But after Gawain takes care of all that and these guys are all taken out, then Ormond eventually goes and apologizes for being such a fucking shithead because he was making all kinds of rude comments about Gawain's sexuality and shit like that, and about him being a coward and all of this stuff, and Gawain was the one that saved his ass. But he apologizes to him, and then Gawain is like, what is it that you are actually planning here? Because I know you don't actually give a shit if Darren is the king, and that you're willing to sacrifice others for your delusions, but you are not willing to sacrifice yourself. So what is your actual plan here? And we don't get any information about that, but at least the topic is opened up. Alicent makes a last-ditch effort to try to get Rhaenyra to let up because Helena's not even eating at this point. She's not in a good state. It tells Rhaenyra that Aemon is in Harrenhal. And Rhaenyra's like, we have searched Harrenhal. We have not found this dragon. And Alicent's like, no, I did not say the dragon Vhagar was in Harrenhal. I said Aemon is in Harrenhal. And she's like, well, how did you come by this information? So Alicent actually tells Rhaenyra about Helena's gift. Now she knows somebody else who is a dreamer. Not just one time, she's dreamed several things that have actually come to fruition. So I imagine Rhaenyra is going to do something. Helena definitely has just become a huge pawn. That's my opinion. She sends Alicent. She figures that if Aemon doesn't have his dragon and she sends guards, he'll just go aground again. He'll just hide like he's been hiding somewhere else, and then he'll be in the wind again. But if she sends one guard with somebody he trusts, he might be more likely to actually trust her and go with her so that he can be taken out. And then the next time that we see Alicent, she's talking to Helena Helena's like, you could refuse her. You don't have to go. And she's like, don't you want to be free of all this? And Helena's like, why am I here? Like, why really did you make me marry my brother? Were there no other lords that were willing to take my hand? And then she says that it was her father's idea, and I was like, seriously? Oh my god. Like, it really bugs me the shit that fucking Otto Hightower told her that she just willingly went along with. You married your daughter off to your son, who is an awful person. Since he was very young, he's been very irresponsible, has not been a good person, and her excuse is that, well, this way that you can be close to home and you won't have to go far away with somebody else that might hurt you. But you literally set her up with your son, who intentionally hurts her, who's never taken her seriously, who's always treated her like a dimwit and always treated her as less than a person. Like, know who your family is, know who your children are, and maybe try to do the right thing by them, not just what your daddy tells you to do. But then after that, we see that she has been sent off. She's in some nice, like, fluffy, warm weather gear so that she can head off to cold, dank, damp, gloomy Harrenhal to try to retrieve her son. Then Rhaenyra gets this package sent from somebody in Tumbleton, and it appears to be the cover of one of these guys' uniform that says, "Kick this dog and it will bite." And at first I thought maybe this was from Ulf. It definitely would fit with what had just happened with Ulf. Like, he literally was just hit and kicked to the ground. And I don't think he's long for staying with Rhaenyra. I think he's going to turn cloak, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has already turned cloaked and ran. But the clothes that it was written on were not anything that Ulf was wearing. And Ulf wasn't in Tumbleton last time we saw him. He had left his shift in Tumbleton, so he would have been in King's Landing. My other thought was definitely that it could be from Ormond sending a message because he was quite pissed off that she had done what she did. Oh yeah, and the Baratheons that she sent were all covered in dirt and mud and shit, and they stunk really bad, and you could see that Ormond was like really trying to hold himself from freaking like getting all upset about how horrible they smelled. By the time all the shit happened, Ormond finally couldn't hold it in any longer and fucking vomited all over the place. But I definitely think it could be from the clothing that one of them were wearing, and that he wrote that on there and sent it to Rhaenyra. And then the other option could be Hugh the Hammer, but I don't think he would be to that position yet. And it wasn't Rhaenyra that caused him grief. And I don't think he would see it as being Rhaenyra that caused him grief. I think that what just happened with him and his wife is going to cause him to go into a downward spiral. And after that, he will not be loyal enough to stick around because he will be in such a bad position. The next thing we see is that Corlys is actually talking to his men. It sounds like he is finally done with all this mess and he's getting ready to go back to the city to handle the problems that Rhaenyra is having. He's telling his men that they got to go back and that he's got to go back also. Right as he is finished talking about this stuff and they are getting ready to pack up and leave, we see one of the guys that has been at Ormond's side the whole time, and then it looks like somebody fucking strangled Corlys and all his other men are in the background taking out Corlys's other Valyrian troops. Really, really fucking sucks. I don't know if Corlys is dead at this point. It did look like they were strangling him. And if they were strangling him the way it appears that they were, he may very well already be dead. And if that's taking out all his Valyrian men, how many Valyrians are left? We've got his 2 grandchildren that are both females that can't carry on his name. We've got his 2 bastard children that have not been legitimized. I don't know if Rhaenyra can legitimize them after Corlys is dead. So that sucks. And it sucks for them because they just got their dad to start really talking to them and acknowledging them and being willing to give them his name, and now he's gone. Like they went their whole lives with him really not acknowledging them. And now they finally have a little bit of time with him and he's taken. It really sucks. But I guess it's time for me to send you back to my live self. Oh no, I had my volume off the whole time. Okay, so let me go back to my live scene. Oh my gosh. so so I had my volume off the whole time that because when I'm putting on my pre-recordings, I turn my volume off because I think it causes some feedback. It doesn't sound great when my volume on my mic is on. But then I'm supposed to turn it back on when I go to my live scene, and I forgot. So anyway, what I was saying was that at the end, I thought that I saw Corliss being strangled. I thought that somebody had like twine and was wrapping it around his neck to kill him. But I've heard several people say that he was actually captured. And I have not gone back to like double check that, but when I saw it, I thought he was being killed. So that's why I said that. But but I'm not sure. I don't know for sure. But I would much prefer he just be kidnapped rather than somebody try to strangle him. So yeah, I was really worried that he would be killed. And I'm very much hoping he is not killed. He's not dead yet. I think it would be very bad for them to kill Corliss at this point. I know he's going to die at some point, but please let's not make it right now. The other thing that I had talked about when I had my mic muted was that this thing with Orman Hightower and his his sensitive smells or whatever, is that it wasn't until like a couple days, like when Alicent said that to Rhaenyra, I didn't think a whole lot of it. I was like, well, so it's gonna make him feel really bad, like he doesn't like the way things smell because he's very sensitive. I've got autistic kids. I've got a brother on the autism spectrum. They all have sensitivity issues with certain things. I even have sensitivity issues. Yeah, there's a possibility I might be on the spectrum, but there's nothing that I know of for sure. I just know that I have sensitivities to stuff that is slimy and sticky, and it makes me feel really, really gross, and I hate it. Outside of that, I don't think I do get itchy really easy. But anyway, what I was thinking, like up to a couple days ago, I started it didn't occur to me until then. My mom has this sensitivity to one smell, and that is the smell of cooking popcorn. So like if you go into a theater and there's popcorn cooking, she can't deal with it. If you make popcorn on the stove or in the microwave, she can't deal with it. My dad used to be able to make popcorn on the stove without adding stuff to it, and it would be okay, but now she can't even do that. And as time has gone on, like she used to her sensitivity would give her gas, like literally farting and burping. But as time has gone on, it's gotten worse. And now she actually gets nauseous. She gets literally sick to her stomach. And I have this brother-in-law that lived with us for a while, and he also gets sick to his stomach because of the smell of popcorn cooking. So when I realized that, then I was like, oh, well, maybe this smelling sensitivity could be worse than what I'm thinking. Like, it's not just going to be overwhelming and feel bad for him. Like, it could literally make him nauseous and sick to his stomach. And that is exactly what happened. So I was very glad when we got done with this episode, or before I started this episode, that I had thought of that, so that it was like it had entered my mind that this could be an issue, and it turns out that was an issue, and he ended up vomiting all over the place. Anyway, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to show a preview for next week's episode. It's very short. I was going to do that last week, or for last episode, but I had forgotten about it, and now I've already watched it, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going to watch the preview. After the preview's done, I'm going to do my favorites and least favorites and all of that, and then I will leave my rest in peace section for the very end. So let's go ahead and get to this preview. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. And I will mute my mic like I do.
A new dawn is coming. A new line of unsullied kings.
My queen, we've seen something strange.
Mother.
There's a father surrounds her. She has come to do you some evil.
I have a piece on the board now that will bring the savage queen to her knees.
You may refuse me as your sister, but I may compel you as your queen. Now tell me what you know.
All right. Let's go back to the live scene. Oh my goodness. So I knew Helena was going to be made her pawn, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what she's doing. And the idea of trying to force Helena to say anything, she is not good with people even that she knows and is comfortable with, you go and make her uncomfortable, and I don't think she's going to get anywhere. And I really don't want to see Helena hurt, not even emotionally. I think that's terrible. That sucks. What was the other stuff? So Aegon's mom gets there, and Alice, or not Aegon, Aemon's mom gets there, and Alice is trying to convince him that she's gonna do him harm, which that's supposed to be the intent. I doubt that anything really comes of it. To me, Aemon is extremely adept at taking care of himself and defending himself. So if anybody tried to kill him, his mom, her soldier, her guards or whatever, anybody, I think he'll be able to fucking handle himself. But and plus we've seen stuff. I've seen trailers where he's like talking to his mom and trying to convince her that Rhaenyra needs to be removed from the throne. Honestly, I think all of these kings and queens, all the people that have been given the throne, crowned, anointed, excluding Darren, and I'm not counting Darren because I consider that completely illegitimate. Like what Ormond did never should happen. It's like those 10 and penny kings or whatever they call them, those penny kings. They have no legitimate calling to be king. Like, even if you're a bastard or whatever, you have some bloodline or whatever, somebody else is already ahead of you in that line of succession. So unless everybody in the line of succession is gone before you, that's not going to count. And Darren is not the next in line of succession. So to me, he's completely illegitimate. I think he would make a good king. But all the people that are in a position where they think they're in a legitimate position, Aegon, Aemon, and Rhaenyra, to me, they all suck. They all would make completely awful royalty. But guess what? That's not the way royalty works. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit if the person that is on the throne is a good king or a bad king. I mean, some people do. People will try to fight them and get them and dethrone them and kill them and all of that. But it is the decision as to who is next in line on the throne is not about what people want and who would be a good king. It is unfortunately about that bloodline and who is the next in the line of traditional succession, or who the previous ruler said was next in line. And in this case, the previous ruler was Viserys, and he put Rhaenyra on the throne. So to me, Rhaenyra is the legitimate queen, even though she does suck as a queen. But you don't always get what you want. You don't always get a good king. You don't always get a good queen. We've seen that with multiple rulers on the Game of Thrones, in A Song of Ice and Fire, in all kinds of positions. So it's just not the way it works. It's not about who's going to be the good king and who's going to be the bad king. It's about who is the next in the line of succession. Anyway, what else was, I think is, they said something about they've seen something very interesting, but I don't know exactly what it is. So that'll be something to look out for the next episode. What is this interesting thing that is coming up? All right. But anyway, that's enough of talking about the preview for the next episode. Now I'm going to go into my favorites, least favorites, and all of that. Okay. So we'll start with, to me, the best scene was at the very beginning with that fake out where the Rivermen had set up this whole scenario. Like, there were dead animals. Like, these animals had maggots in them. There were dead people on the ground. There were people that looked like they were dead but weren't dead. Just like, it looked like there was this entire battle scene, and flies are flying around, and it's nasty, it's bad. And they're like something strange is going on. This is weird. They go looking through all the people there, and they're like, there's no enemies. Like, these are all rivermen. So what the fuck's going on? And then fake out is over. They get up and they start fucking thrashing. And yeah, all those rivermen that were there got killed, but it was exciting. I was so excited for it. So that was, to me, the best scene. But the worst scene was right after that, where Cole gets killed by being taken out with arrows. It's silent, and yeah, I know they're trying to give him this honorless, unglorious death, which is great. That is what he deserves. But you can still have a fight or a battle and have an inglorious, unhonorable death. And from what I understand, that in the books, because I didn't remember this part of the books, but I have been watching other people talk about this episode. In the books, what was supposed to happen before he started getting shot with arrows, was the guy with the gray hair. I can't remember. Roddy Ruin something or another. Rowdy Ruin. I know I'm mixing up names from wrestling and shit. But anyway, he was supposed to say something about not giving Cole any fucking glorious death. And that line was completely left out. Instead, they gave him some fucking look, and there was no words said, and he was just taken out. This silent, really blah, boring death. And I was very disappointed in that. And like I said in my breakdown, after thinking about it and giving it a second thought, I was like, okay, they wanted this less than honorable death, but I still feel like they could have done it a little bit better and still clarified that this was an inhonorable death. Just leaving in that line would have made it so much better, in my opinion. You didn't have to have any battle at all. Just add that line right as he's being taken out. That would have been perfect. And maybe the showrunners thought, oh, well, it would be even more inhonorable if nobody says anything. Like, you're really going on with this. Nobody's going to be singing songs about you. No one's going to think that you have an honorable death. There's going to be no glory in your death or whatever. But to me, there was no good reason to leave that line out. There just wasn't. You could have had a crappy battle that had no honor, or you could have left it how it was but had that line in there, and it would have been perfect. Okay, so that was my worst favorite scene, right after my favorite scene. Okay, VIP for the episode was Gwaine. So Gwaine has been apparently Darren's protector over from Orman, because Orman is fucking insane. And yes, Darren points out that fucking Gwaine took off and left rather joyously. I don't blame him. But the fact still remains that this guy has been kind of Darren's protector. And I'm not saying Darren can't protect himself. He probably very well can. But there is a certain kind of protection that comes just from having another party there. It's like an emotional protection. I know this because of situations I had in my own family where I felt unsafe, I felt unprotected, and when there was somebody there, somebody that I trusted, I felt protected. I felt better. And then as soon as they would say they were going to leave, I would be begging them to stay. Not because they're going to keep my parents from doing anything, not because they're going to keep anything bad from happening, but because it's almost like this security blanket thing. Just having somebody else there in your presence makes you feel better. It makes you feel safer, in my opinion, at least in my experience with things like that. I've never had the kind of abuse that this kid is dealing with. Mine was a different kind of abuse, but it's still abuse. And some of it is still psychological abuse. And what he's getting right now is kind of a psychological and power abuse. And he may get other abuse too. We've seen Orman blow up, so we know that there is the possibility that there's been physical abuse also. We don't know. But physical abuse is not worse than emotional and psychological abuse. It is different. It is not worse. So don't think that because something isn't physical, that it isn't violent. Don't think that because it isn't physical, that it isn't worse. Some of the psychological scars can be far more damaging than physical scars. Anyway, so that's my VIP. And not just because of his protection for Darren, which he wasn't offering this episode. He was offering to leave this episode, but just the fact that he's been there for him before and that Darren has felt safe enough with him to feel that way about him and to be open with him about it. To me is very important. But also, Gwaine was the one that clocked those Baratheons as not actually being Baratheons and being a safety problem and then being assassins. He clocked that right off the bat and he took those fuckers out. Like, no fucking time at all. As soon as he realized what was going on, he was taking them out. So definitely my VIP of the episode. Piece of shit of the episode is Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is usually my girl. Granted, she's a terrible queen, as I've said before. She has not been good in her position, but I will forever blame other people for it. But her situation now, just repeatedly doing the shit that she's doing with Alicent and Helena, that stuff irritates me. I know she's in a bad position and that anybody finds out about Helena and it is going to put her in a position where she has to do things that she may very well not want to do and that none of us want to see happen. But I do feel like she could have handled this much better than she did. And I know she's got a lot on her plate and she is fucking stressed out because of it and everything. But I don't find that a legitimate excuse for the way that she treated them. I know that, like, part of me is like, well, you know, Alicent is really delusional if she thinks that Rhaenyra is just going to keep treating her with little kid gloves and keep freaking protecting her and not ever do anything really awful with her. I think it's delusional for her to think that Rhaenyra would not do some of the shit that she has done in this situation. I think Rhaenyra has been more than graceful with her because of their past, because of their arrangement, and because she's trying to be decent. But she's in between a rock and a hard place, and she's trying to figure out how to deal with this. And she does need to be clear with Alicent that she can't just let this stuff stand. That she can't just let her run away. That she can't just make up something and like, Alicent knows. Like, Alicent's the person from the beginning that was like, oh, well, this has to happen because my kids are going to be on the deathbed if Rhaenyra ends up on the throne. Like, that was her position. It was her position because of Otto Hightower, but it was still her position. It was her that said that. It was her that was telling her kids that. So yeah, she knows that this is the kind of thing that's going to happen. So acting like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. Like that's how she was looking at Rhaenyra the whole time Rhaenyra is saying this stuff to her. Like, oh my God, I can't, like, how can you not believe it? You said yourself that this was going to happen. You said yourself, and you know, because you've been in this position, you know that this kind of stuff has to happen. So I was like, really? What the heck? But yeah, Rhaenyra treating them that way still pissed me off. I was like, you could have come up with some better way to treat them. Still, like, make it very clear that this shit could end up with them fucking, dead, that they could be, like, really imprisoned. I still consider them really imprisoned, but I'm talking about, like, worse, like in the fucking stocks or down in the fucking dungeons, shit like that. You don't want that kind of imprisonment versus what you've got now, so don't make things worse. And I know Alicent definitely had her reasons for what she did, but you put Rhaenyra in a situation where she couldn't really do a whole lot about it. I still don't like the way Rhaenyra treated her, though. But at the end, when she sends Alicent off to basically bring in her son so that her son can be killed, I thought that was just next level fucking evil. Or at least just, like, kind of heartless. I'm not going to say it's completely evil. It wouldn't put it, I wouldn't put it past anybody, and I feel like she probably feels like this is the next best option, because what else are you going to do? Fucking behead them? Possibly, but Rhaenyra's not ready to do that. She is ready to behead Aemon, though. Anyway, she's made that very clear. I mean, she's like, hey, I'm going to give Harrenhal to anybody who brings me the head of Aemon, so we know that. But also the shit with Helena. As soon as Alice told her about Helena's gifts, and it really clocked with Rhaenyra, the situation that Helena is in, that Helena is a dreamer. Like, as soon as I saw the look on her face, I was like, fuck. Like, now Helena's gonna be her fucking pawn. And I like Rhaenyra. I think had she been provided good training, had her father made sure that her freaking that the realm was actually in her support, that he had actually brought her up so that, and made it clear to the realm that this was going to happen, and that they needed to be okay with it. Like, and if they're not okay with it, he's gonna fucking deal with it. Things could have been different, but he never did that. He never wanted to fucking deal with any fucking thing. Anytime anything was bad, he just didn't want to fucking deal with it. And to me, that's the biggest problem, because he didn't want to deal with any kind of conflict at all. He just kicked the can down the road until the next people had to deal with it, and that left Rhaenyra in this situation where she's not properly trained. She does not have the support of her realm. I mean, you can see that some people have support for her, but there's enough people in the realm that have no support, that don't support her at all, that it's a huge problem, and he never fucking dealt with that. The whole thing with her having bastard children because he married her to somebody who was gay, and yeah, there's a possibility he could have provided her natural born children, even being gay, but you're also putting them in a situation where there's no real love in that marriage. There's no real connection in that marriage, and they don't want to be doing that. And I think it sounded like Laenor had said that he couldn't actually do that. I don't know if that's true, but it sounded like he was not actually able to give her children, like they had tried. So then you put her in a situation where she has to go looking for somebody else because they expect her to have children for them to be heirs. So yeah, I feel like almost all the awful fucking shit at the beginning of this mess was because Viserys didn't fucking do what he needed to do to make sure that she was actually implemented the way she should have been. And he did not provide her proper training. He did not, he gave her diplomatic training, but that was about it. That really was about it. And he fucking had the whole goddamn kingdom set against her. Because he had a whole bunch of high towers that were against her in the first place, all fucking ruling half of his kingdom. So they were all implemented before he ever fucking died. So, anyway. All right, what was the other? That was the piece of shit of the episode, was Rhaenyra. Especially, just the whole idea of her using Helaena as a pawn. And then seeing that preview for episode 7 definitely looks like that's exactly what she's going to do. She's going to use Helaena as a pawn, and that pisses me off. I don't want Helaena used as anybody's pawn. I do not think, though, like Alice was trying to say that she's so fragile. I don't honestly think that Helaena is nearly as fragile as everybody thinks. I think she is in a bad mental state. I do. But I don't think she's nearly as fragile as people think. I think if people took her seriously, they took her gifts as what they actually are, and kind of tried to work with her as she is, she could have been a much stronger person. She could be in a much better place. And fucking marrying her off to Aegon was just cruel. That's all I got to say about that. What else do I have to say? There is... Oh, yeah, I wanted to say an honorable mention for VIP of the episode is Alicent, because even though I don't like I don't like the way she acted, acting like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing this awful stuff to me, when she's known from the beginning that this is the kind of stuff that rulers have to do in her kind of situation. But she at least throughout the episode and throughout the last couple episodes has been really trying to protect Helaena. Everything that she's done, even though it turned out to be fucked up, was to protect Helaena. And she's really has tried to protect Helaena in whatever way she can. And her leaving at the end to go bring in her son is also to protect Helaena. Her trying to get her daughter to eat when she wouldn't eat was to protect Helaena. So for that, I give her an honorable mention, even though I did not give her total VIP. Because, I don't know. I felt better about the fact that Gwaine was providing Darren a little bit of protection, and that Gwaine stepped up and took out those assassins when and fucking clocked that they were assassins right away. Like, that takes some decent observation skills, and I realize he probably knew a little more about certain people in the Baratheon family because he's attracted to them. But regardless, he was observing, he was paying attention, and he fucking clocked that shit and took them out. While Ormond is yelling, "Stop him! Oh my god, stop him!" So yeah. So that was my honorable mention. And I wanted to repeat this line from the very, because remember my favorite scene was at the very beginning when they did that fake out battle. Well, like when they did that fake out battle scene where it looked like there had been this whole battle and everybody was dead. And there's fucking dead, rotting animals with maggots on them. There's people lying all over the place that appear to be dead. I think some of them were dead. And then they get up and like that was a great scene. But after Cole and his men take all the rivermen that were there out, after they go through this fake out, and Cole yells that line about like the fucking high towers lighting the way or whatever it is, and then Tully says this line just like really cracked me up. I told the dead I'd build a sept of the dead's bones, but I don't have nearly enough bones. So he's like, no, we're not avoiding the battle so that your men can go free, because I ain't got near enough bones. I thought that was great. That was excellent stuff. But I think that's all I've got for you this time. We do have another episode coming out on, I think it's Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to see it until Monday because I don't usually watch shows that late at night. If I do, it's just watching shows with my family without any pretense of doing a reaction or a discussion or a breakdown or anything like that. So I will watch it on Monday, and then on either Tuesday or Wednesday I should get around to my my breakdown and discussion. I will publish a post saying when I'm going to do my next breakdown. And after that, I will try to make it on that day every week. And I know there's not that many episodes left. I think next episode is the penultimate. And then the episode after that is the finale. So it is definitely winding down. But either way, it will be whatever day that I do that. I'm going to try to do it as swiftly as I can. But like I've said before, I do an actual recorded reaction, but I don't edit those reactions until later on down the road. Then I watch the show again with my husband. I take notes. And then after I take notes, then I go ahead and record my breakdown and I edit it. I do that because I tend to have a lot of repeated things that I'll say over and over again. I'll have things where I'm coughing, where I'm trying to think of what I need to say, or I've like lost a word and I can't remember what the word is. And nobody wants to see freaking tons and tons of dead air. So I try to edit that stuff out. I also add the images and stuff to my breakdown so that you can see kind of what's going on in the scenes here and there for what I'm talking about. And if I give any book spoilers, because I definitely sometimes do, or if I give spoilers for some other show, I try to put in a notice in that edited video that a spoiler is coming up. So I edit those, and then once I have that editing done and I have my notes taken and I'm ready to go, then I go ahead and do these live streams. And I'll usually put a post up a couple hours, sometimes the night before. If I know it's going to be the next day, I'll put up a post saying when I'm going to do the next breakdown. But sometimes it'll be just like a couple hours before the breakdown, because sometimes I take longer doing the editing than I think I will, so I end up not doing the live stream when I really wanted to. But I'm going to very much try to get it done as quickly as I can. And it usually takes me a couple days. That's why I said it probably won't be till around Tuesday by the time I get there. Tuesday or Wednesday. But once I figure out how long it's going to take, the next one will be the same day of the next week. Okay, so anyway, that's all I got for you. I will see you when I see you.